the man now, the man who has all the scoop. Baldy, you are like the big, we've got like 3 TVs out here, and like it's like 2 of the 3 have you on them at a different time. Like you're all over the place. You're the hardest working man in football.
I have no idea. The only TVs I have on in here right now, Bo, is game footage of whatever game I was just watching this play in Pittsburgh. I was talking through it with Kurt Warner. So I was just seeing, what Pickett should have done, what he didn't do, why their offense is a mess. So anyways, I was just going through that. So
just
I'm good here, guys.
Happy Halloween. That's I like that. That's a good
you guys
flex.
all got dressed up for today, man. I see you're in the theme of it.
Yeah, I like that. So I guess let's it feels like there's not too much to unpack from the Commanders game itself, but one aspect that I would like to ask you about is something that we've talked about, and that's sort of the downturn in the Eagles' running game a little bit. How much of that is offensive line driven by some of the changes that we've seen? How much is the way that opposing teams are playing them? What's your sort of assessment there?
I'll be honest with you, Bo. To me, it just looks like lack of commitment. The one thing I can say since Nick Sirianni took over, I don't think this had anything to do with Brian Johnson. Like, in any given game, I go back to like last year when he ran for, 350 yards against Green Bay. Like, they would run the same plays over and over again. Like, they'd get into a rhythm of certain plays, Indianapolis last year, and they would just wear those plays out. And I just don't see the commitment to it right now. And so I think that's what's missing the most, because every, Dickerson and Mulata over there, like, that's a powerful left side. They just want to lean on people and beat on people the way we saw Detroit do in the second half last night. And, a lot of these games have been, fairly close. Miami was close for a while. Washington was close. And so I think they're throwing it to get the lead right now. And they're not really getting into any kind of a rhythm to run it. That's my biggest issue right now, to answer your question about that.
And as a follow-up to that, a big part of their running game is Jaylen Herz being +1 in the running game and the RPRs. With Jaylen clearly banged up, do you think that's affecting what they're doing on the ground?
A little bit, Zach. I think they could turn around and hand the ball to DeAndre Swift, without, having option reads and including Jaylen. I think if you just want to line up and knock people off the ball, I'd put, a lot of money on the guys up front for the Eagles. A lot of these plays are RPOs, so they could run it, or they could throw. It's up to Jaylen to decide. And I thought, one of the sacks last week, I think Montez Sweat got it. It's an RPO, and, Kelsey is pulling and they're folding the play. And, I don't know why they just didn't hand it to Gainwell on the play, but he didn't. And then they blitzed him, and he was under duress and took a sack. But, some of these, when we get into, runs, passes, you have to factor in the RPO. And should they have run it? Did they make the right decision throwing it off it? Because it's really up to Jaylen to decide.
All right, Baldy, I think we should sort of turn the page a little bit to the Cowboys game, because it's obviously a huge game, the start of this brutal 6-game stretch for the Eagles, last game before the bye. And, you could see if they win this game on Sunday, there's a little bit of a separation within the division and even within the conference for the Eagles. What is, if you are Nick Sirianni, what is the number one thing that you are worried about this week, and how can you sort of try to fix whatever that one thing is?
Well, they're an opportunistic defense. Deron Bland has stepped in for Trayvon Diggs. I don't know. To me, he's the MVP of the whole Cowboys team, not just defense, the whole team. Like, he's got 4 interceptions. He had another pick 6 last week. He's stepped in, stepped up. And, he's all over the field, covering Nakua last week, you name it. He's been outstanding. So, you throw late on the outside to him, he's just sitting there waiting on this stuff. Like, he's got a good rhythm. He's got a good eyes. He's looking to take it to the house. Now, that being said, they've got great team speed on defense. And to me, the way that you always counter speed is what we were just talking about before, is like, I would run right at this Cowboys team. Just pound them. I'd pound them with, power runs, pulling guards, pulling tackles, gut plays where you're pulling Kelsey, onside guard, whatever. Like, I would try to negate their speed and Parsons' effect by running the ball out. And that's what Arizona did this year when they beat them. That's what San Francisco did to them. like, and when they beat them badly, like, that's how you negate the speed. Because what they want to do, honestly, is they play 4 safeties. They play this Marquise Bell down the box with Clark right now. And then they've got Curse and they've got Hooker and, they got their safeties. And that's why they look so fast, is they got all these 205-pound safeties on the field, and you got to make them pay for that. And so, to me, that's what I would do.
Obviously, Micah Parsons is the player in focus when the Cowboys are on defense. The Eagles had an interesting approach in that first game last year, that Sunday night game when they beat them, where it was almost like if you don't block them, read them. What's the approach do you think they'll take with Parsons on Sunday?
Well, I've been listening to Micah talk. He thinks the Eagles are the best team in football by far. So, on his podcast, it's pretty interesting. Maybe he's just, laying in the weeds here. I always think that you got to have a plan.
Material.
Well, I mean, so he's avoiding all that. He's smart enough for that. But what Dan Quinn's doing, like last week, he got a sack because they really designed a play just for him, where they put him isolated in the center. They took both defensive tackles and pass rushed him outside. So he had this big room to run around Coleman Shelton in the center, and he beat him cleanly and took down Stafford for the sack. But they do a lot with him. They line him up at inside linebacker. Both sides. They're now lining him up at defensive tackle. So no matter where he goes, it's a little bit like what they did with Aaron Donald a couple weeks ago. Like, I imagine, what's today? Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow, when they start game planning this thing, I can imagine them literally as a group saying, okay, Mike is over here. He's outside Lane Johnson. Like, where's the back? Is the slide going this way? Like, you got to have 2 sets of eyes on him, regardless of who's blocking.
Sorry, we had a little distraction over there. I think that's fair. On the other side of the ball, Baldy, how well is Dak playing right now? I think since that Niners game, it seems like he has turned things up a little bit.
Well, he played his best game last week, and really, he usually plays well when he gets the ball to CD Lamb. CD was targeted 15 times last week. I think he had 12 catches. He had the 2 touchdowns. They just seem like they're in a better rhythm when CD gets the ball. And they really had a good game plan against the Rams. They blocked well up front. Aaron Donald didn't ruin their party. And they put CD all over the place. They got him isolated on safeties. They ran him on all kinds of motions. I always feel like that's kind of like his – I know it's his guy. But it'll be interesting to see how the Eagles play him. Like, would they match up? I don't think they will. It's not what they do. But would Slay go with – CD? He plays so much inside. I can't see the Eagles doing that. But you got to have a game plan for him. But Dak's played better. If he's, he gets in trouble like a lot of quarterbacks in this league when it's late in the progression and the pocket is collapsing on him. And all of a sudden he's a little bit off balance and he doesn't have time to really step into his throws and the ball comes out late or whatever. And that's what leads to his interceptions when he's like, he just gets a little frozen late if he can't get rid of the ball quickly.
It's interesting you say that about Slay, because a big part of this Eagles defense is built around having 2 outstanding corners on the outside, and it seems like Bradberry is not quite having the season that he had last year. What's the film showing you?
Well, Zach, you go back to the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know that he can run as well as you need to run on the outside with some of these guys right now. He's been in the league for a while. He's had his share of success, but at some point, guys are going to double move you. They're going to run by you. He got caught a couple of times in the Super Bowl where he's just sort of grabbing when they do those kind of things. If I was James, I don't know. I mean, I'd play off ball a little bit and just use his experience and what's coming at him, reading the routes. But if you're asking him to go press these guys right now, I don't know if that's the best way to play James. And obviously, when they put him in the slot, maybe it was just 1 week, but when they played him in the slot, it wasn't good at all. And they went out and, signed Roby and all these different guys because they knew it just, it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, we have seen some games from the Eagles this season in which they will give Slay a couple reps inside, but I would imagine, as with most of Sean Desai's plans, we're going to see a little bit of everything. In Kevin Byard's first game, just first game, still getting acclimated, anything pop to you?
I've known Kevin a long time, and going back to Middle Tennessee State, and he didn't look fast to me. He didn't look like he was playing fast, which I expected because it's new, and he's getting these calls late, and he's very smart. So it's not like he doesn't know what's going on, but it's a lot to digest in 4 days to get ready for a game. He made the tackles that were his to make. He's a good tackler. I expect him to play faster as these weeks go on. He gets more acclimated to playing with Sidney or playing with Reed or playing on the same side as Slay. I just think he's got to react quicker than some of the things that we saw last week.
A few minutes ago, Fletcher Cox was in studio here with us, and we were talking to him about the season that he's having here. He's playing 70% plus of the snaps, year 12, and it seems to be one of his better years in recent years. What are you seeing from him when you watch?
I remember seeing him down the field, Zach, prior to the Jets game, and he was talking to some reporter for Fox or whatever, and he was just saying like, I'm just healthy. I just think he feels good right now. Now look, they've had injuries to Marlon and to Jaylen, and different guys have been out of the lineup, and so he's had to play more reps this year. But I think he's healthier. I think the young guys, like I know Lane Johnson feels this way. Like I think when you're an older guy, like Fletcher, you need to be rejuvenated, not in a way of, okay, I got to get myself, lose weight or get in better shape. It's you need to be energized by the guys around you. And I think seeing Jaylen and seeing Jordan and seeing some of these young guys, Nakobe, like I think it's fun being around young guys that are good players. And I think those guys, to me, Zach, have energized him. I know like Landon Dickerson, he energizes Lane. Just, the way that he tinkers and thinks and, the stuff that he says. And so, look, coach speak, you're sitting in these meetings, for Fletcher now, his 12th year, whatever it is. Like you've heard everything, every single check, whatever you can do. You need the guys around you to make it fun. And I feel like these young guys have sort of energized some of the older guys on the team.
Baldy, it is wild how much you know exactly what you're talking about, because that is basically what Fletcher told us. So you are the maestro for a reason. We thank you for the insight as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys. Yep, you bet, man.
Thanks, Baldy.
We all silly like the mayor.